Hey y'all, welcome to a kind of impromptu reading vlog. Actually, it occurs to me, I think most of my reading vlogs end up being kind of impromptu. But this is a weekend vlog because it is currently Friday, so it's not technically quite the weekend for me because I do have to work this morning, but my job is pretty straightforward and not very thinky brain. I'm doing a lot of like double checking that people's diploma names and addresses are correct right now. So like it's practically the weekend. Like my job is fun. I'm gonna enjoy going and just kind of doing this monotonous thing, not having to think about it. And then I'm gonna come back and try to get some reading done this weekend because I am quite behind on my Goodreads goal at the moment. I should have read 6 books in January to have been on track at the end of that month. I read 3, which means that I need to read 9 books in February to be on track with my reading goal for the year. So I kind of need to get caught up on that because I've read 1 book so far. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. I'm just gonna read as much as I can this weekend. I might also play some video games at some point, but I really would just like to get caught up on my reading goal a little bit, and I have several things I've been reading and really enjoying that I'd like to get back to and try to finish as many of those as I can. So kind of the plan for focus is that I do have some school reading that I need to get to. The first one of these is Frankenstein, which I need to finish, and I've got like 40 pages of this left, so I am sure I'm gonna finish this afternoon. I think I'm probably gonna like finish this, do some laundry, like do some chores, that kind of thing. And I'm really looking forward to this because this is one of my all-time favorite books. I've been really enjoying doing my reread, and after I'm done with this, I can start thinking about what the paper I want to write about it. So I'm pretty excited about this one, and I see no likelihood that I won't finish this one. Once I'm done with Frankenstein, I also need to read a little bit of the Canterbury Tales, which I do have my copy here. I have this version that we're reading for class. I don't have any markings in this because I've also been leaning a lot on an interlinear translation from Harvard because this one is actually in the Middle English, and it's got like little notes at the bottom for each line for what the words mean, and I find that kind of difficult to read, the kind of jumping back and forth between the lines. So I've been reading a lot of the interlinear translation version, but I need to read the Miller's Tale and the Reeves Tale, and I think it's the Reeves Prologue and Tale, and a couple of articles for that. But I've been really enjoying this experience as well, so I think that that's pretty doable. So then the other things I would like to focus on this weekend, once I get through some of the school reading and have some time to finally work on my leisure reading. One, I'm currently reading The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, and I got that from the library, so that loan is about to end in a few days, so I'd really like to go ahead and finish that one up so that, you know, I actually read it this time because this is like the 4th time I've checked it out from the library this year, but I am liking it so far. I finally actually started it this time, and I am really enjoying it so far. I think that the characters that he's written are really interesting, and I'm curious to see where all of this is going to go because I'm still pretty early in. I think I'm about 60 pages in. But yeah, that's been fun so far, and I need to get that read before my loan ends and I have to check it out yet again. So yeah, that's the plan there. So, you know, just gonna kind of see what the weekend holds. Originally I was supposed to be going on a trip this weekend, and that's kind of fallen through because the area that I was supposed to be going to is now expecting to get several inches of snow, like right before I'm supposed to come back. So, you know, we're not going because we didn't want to be stuck. So there's that. So yeah, that's kind of my plan for the weekend, and I hope you guys will join me for this journey. I think it's gonna be fun, and I'm really hoping that I can get a lot of reading done this weekend. So it's like 3:30-ish. I got home from work a little while ago, had some lunch, all that good stuff, and I am about to sit down and finish off Frankenstein for my class. But I just wanted to hop in here because my partner sent me an early Valentine's gift. And I just need to share how cute this is with you guys. He got me a little Snorlax, and this little guy sits like on surfaces really well. He like sits up. Let's see if I can get this to... He just kind of sits on his own, and he's just adorable. Snorlax is like my favorite Pokemon, so my partner sent me this, and I was so excited when I opened the box when it got here today. So I just wanted to share this because I think it's adorable and also really sweet. So Snorlax and I are gonna go read Frankenstein, and then I'll check back in with you guys later when that's done. One more brief interruption. I also just got a notification saying the book I ordered had arrived. So I just got my copy of Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones, which I'm very excited about. I haven't read the first book yet, My Heart is a Chainsaw, but I am planning to read it soon, or at least hopefully. We'll see how things go. But yeah, I just got this in the mail, so have to show my book mail. So now I'm actually gonna go finish Frankenstein. I have finally finished reading Frankenstein, and I love this just as much on a reread. It's still one of my favorite books. I think this is just such an interesting book, and I find it to be really fun. I was noticing in my class, several of my classmates said they really struggle to find sympathy for Frankenstein, and that at least one person doesn't really like this book as a result of that. And I thought that was a really interesting reaction to it, only because I feel kind of on the opposite side, where I don't feel sympathy for Frankenstein, but I kind of enjoy the book for that, where I think it's interesting that Frankenstein is just like an unrepentant character. He very much is in a situation where he has made his bed and he has to lie on it, and he just never is willing to fully take responsibility for some of his actions, which I just think is really interesting. Like, he is just an unrepentant trash gremlin, and I kind of love that about him. He's very melodramatic, and he's very self-centered, but I think that, for me, that's an enjoyable part of the story, because it's interesting to just, like, watch him, burn down his whole life, and sit there blaming the creature for having done this to him. I just think that's a really fascinating aspect of this story. I also noticed there's a lot of stuff in this 1818 text about, like, justice, or at least there always has been in the version I read before, but I think that there's some stuff in this one particularly. There's a little monologue from Elizabeth about, like, the criminal justice system that I thought was interesting, that I don't think is in the 1831 version, which I read before. So that was interesting, and I'm thinking about maybe orienting my final paper around kind of that aspect of this book. So I'm going to take this and kind of process it for a little bit and start figuring out what my paper is going to be about. But yeah, I really enjoyed this on reread, and I'm glad that I finally finished it. I'm now ready for class on Tuesday, so that's a good thing too. So now, it's like 8 o'clock, so I think I'm going to go get something to eat, because I haven't eaten any dinner yet. And then probably take a little bit of a break, because I've been sitting here with my computer on, and I'm noticing a little bit of eye strain between the reading and also just, like, looking at screens today. So I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and then after a while, I'm either going to start reading The Miller's Tale, which is the next bit of the Canterbury Tales I need to read, or I might play a video game. I'm not sure which one of those things is going to happen yet. If I decide to play a game, I'll either end up playing probably Dead Space or Judgment, which are kind of the two that I have ongoing at the moment. So yeah, that I think is my plan for the rest of the evening, and I will talk to you guys later. Hello, it's Sunday. I realized I never updated it all yesterday. I had a really, like, leisurely morning with my mom. It was great. We just kind of hung out, had some breakfast, had some coffee, slow morning, just kind of relaxing for a bit. And then I spent my afternoon trying to finish up my reading for class this week, which I did. So that was exciting. I managed to finish all of my reading for my Canterbury Tales class. So this week we're reading The Miller's Tale and The Reeve's Tale, which is an interesting duo of tales. I've read The Miller's Tale before, and it's very, like, silly and gross and, like, that kind of a thing. Like, he's telling this very bawdy story of this guy getting tricked by his wife and his wife's lover, and in a pretty spectacular, dramatic way. And also there is a clerk who kind of gets involved partway through, who has a bad time, basically. I'm trying not to say too much in case you have any interest in reading The Miller's Tale, because it's interesting, but it is kind of, like, weird and gross and very odd. And then you have The Reeve's Tale, which is interesting as a follow-up to The Miller's Tale, because the Reeve hates the Miller, and The Miller's Tale is about a carpenter who gets tricked, and the Reeve is a carpenter, and so he feels it's like a personal attack, and so he tells a kind of personal attack back to the Miller, telling this quite uncomfortable story about a Miller who gets tricked by two scholars who assault the Miller's wife and daughter. So it's very creepy, it's very gross. I don't know, it's just a weird and interesting kind of duo of stories to read. So I'm curious to see what my class's discussion is going to be like. So yeah, that was interesting. I read a couple articles and went with it, and that's kind of what I did yesterday. And then I also started Pokemon Violet. I got it yesterday it arrived while I was working on my homework, and so I started Pokemon Violet, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm very, very early in. I'm like still in the tutorial section, but it's fun, and also Sprigatito is adorable. So that was my starter. I really struggled to decide between Sprigatito and Fuecoco, but like I wanted the little cat friend, so I went with Sprigatito. And yeah, that's pretty much all I did yesterday. I did that, and then my cat was laying in my lap when I finished playing, and he didn't want to go, so I stayed there and sat until like midnight while the cat was sleeping on me, so that was fun. Yeah, that's it. That's everything I did yesterday. Yeah. I think the plan for this morning is that I'm gonna have some breakfast, and I'm thinking I'm gonna try and read some of my library book, The Blade Itself, while I'm hanging out today, because I've done all my homework and it's a really gross rainy day, so good day to just kind of stay inside and do some reading. So I'm gonna try and read that, and I need to also wrap my partner's Valentine's gift because I bought it for him and I have not had a chance to give it to him yet. I'm hoping that this will go up after I've given it to him, because I'm gonna show you right now what I got him. There's a theme here that I didn't notice until a friend of mine pointed it out like later. Let's see if I can get some better lighting here. We'll face. Nah. we'll just. There we go. So I bought him a couple of volumes of manga. He's been looking for some lighter manga to read because he's been reading a lot of heavier stuff with some heavy themes. So he wanted some light stuff to read, and I did some hunting for things that I saw that people were liking and that sounded like they'd be a little bit lighter. So I got him Volume 1 of Toilet Bound Hanako-kun and also Sweat and Soap Volume 1. And I didn't realize until a friend of mine pointed this out to me while we were on a video call that I bought him bathroom themed manga for Valentine's Day. So that's what we've done. I haven't gotten to give it to him yet, obviously. But yeah, that was an accident, but like I think it's funny, so we're just gonna roll with it. Hello, it is now Monday afternoon. I didn't do much yesterday after I checked in the last time. I was feeling pretty bleh all of yesterday afternoon. The weather was really gross and gray. I was having cramps. It was just like not a productive time, which is really fine because honestly, having a lazy weekend was kind of what I was aiming for. Like to just get caught up on school reading and then have some time to relax and hang out. That's what I was hoping for because the previous week and the weekend before that had been quite stressful and busy. So yeah, I'm not really mad that I didn't do that much. But I think after the last time I checked in, I think it was, yeah, yesterday before I really did much of anything for the day, I played some more Pokemon. I've gotten to the open world bit now, so I'm starting that, and I'm trying to put together a team with some semblance of strategy, because my team was a little crazy to start with. In the like first couple of areas you go through, there's lots of like normal type, some flying type, some bug type, and a couple of fairy types. And so my team was looking a little bit stacked with lots of the same stuff. I had a couple of bug types, a couple of fairy types, and it was just, you know, very cute, not very strategically useful. So I've been kind of working on getting my team put together a little bit better. And then I talked to my partner for quite a while, and I did manage to read some, so I'll talk real quick about The Blade Itself, because I've got about 100 pages in of that now, and I'm really enjoying it. It is a really weird book, and I kind of knew this going in. I'd heard that there's basically no plot, and that's, like, really true. Like, there's just the tiniest bit of plot that has been introduced here right about 100 pages in, and I'm, like, totally okay with it, actually. I really like character work, and I feel like the character work in the first 100 pages is really interesting. We're getting introduced to Logan Ninefingers, Sanda Glokta, and Captain Jazal Luthar, and they're all really interesting. They're very different characters with very different personalities. They're distinct, which makes it, you know, kind of easy to remember which perspective you're in, and I'm just enjoying it so far. Like, it's just been backstory and kind of setup of where they are in their lives now, and I'm totally okay with it. I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm invested. I am running into my shelf, and my arm is slowly sinking, so let's try and get this back up here. I'm invested. I want to know what happens, because I'm just curious to see kind of both where these characters came from and also where they're going to end up, because I feel like this first book is kind of winding towards a specific point, I have a prediction for what I think is going to happen at the end of book 1, which I don't want to talk about here because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I have a sense of like the scope of what this first book is trying to do, and I'm curious to see how things are going to shake out because our 3 different characters are in very different places, both like physically and kind of in their lives, so I'm curious to see where that's all gonna go from here. I suspect that later on they're gonna, get involved in something much bigger than themselves, because that's how these things work, isn't it? But I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if any of this has been coherent. It's a weird book to try and talk about because it is so much just like character work and so little plot, and there's just not much to say about like what's happening in the book at this point, because it really is just like, here's Logan, here's his current situation, here's a little bit about his backstory. Here's Sanda Glokta, here's his current situation, here's a little bit of his backstory. Here's Captain Jazal Luthar. We actually know the least about his backstory, I think, but kind of setting up where he's at and what he's working towards in this kind of early portion of the book. So yeah, it's interesting. My one problem is that my library loan ends in a few days, and I'm honestly considering going and buying a copy of this book because I am getting really invested in these characters and I want to know what happens. I'm liking it a lot more than I anticipated so far, but this is literally like the 4th time I have checked it out from the library so far this year. I have had it once, didn't read it, got it again, read about 10 pages, got it again, didn't read it, got it again. This is this current 4th time I've had it out from the library, and I've read about 100 pages. But now I've got like 4 more days. It's due back on Friday. Ooh, try not to drop the camera. It's due back like on Friday, and I am about 100 pages into a 530-page book, and I have more school reading that I'm going to need to do in the next couple of days. So I'm a little frustrated with that. I just feel like this semester I've struggled to figure out how to balance everything in a way that I did last semester, because last semester I did manage to do quite a bit of leisure reading around everything else that I was doing for class, and this semester has just kind of eluded me on that one. I'm enjoying my classes. The subject material is really interesting. It's just something about the structure of both of them this time is just throwing me off. But yeah, I'm thinking about picking up a copy because I am really invested. I am not foreseeing anyway that I wouldn't, get to the end of this book and really be invested and want to know what happens in the next book. So I'm thinking I might pick up a copy. But for now, I'm just going to kind of wait and see how things shake out by Friday when it's actually got to go back to the library, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully I will be done with it by then, but I'm thinking that's looking less and less likely. That was all of the reading I did yesterday. What else? Oh, and then I played Dead Space. A friend of mine and I are playing Dead Space together, and we haven't had time in a little while because of my schedule, of course, to play any Dead Space. She was the master student a year ago, and now it's me. So we've just been kind of working around both of our schedules, and currently mine's just been too busy for me to be able to justify staying up late in the evenings to play. But I did manage to play for a little while yesterday. We got through maybe another hour and a half of it, and we're really enjoying it. It's really good. The new remake is really creepy. The atmosphere is really good. There's a few issues I have with it. One is it keeps doing the same, like, hey, there's a monster in front of you, but oh, there's one behind you too, kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, you've done that so many times now that it's no longer scary. I know it's there, and I'm gonna get smacked by it before I can get turned around, because there's no quick turn. And, yeah, it's not really kind of scary anymore. It also adds randomly, like, a specific villain, where I feel like the villain is, it's the zombie aliens, right? Like, that's the villain of Dead Space. But now we've got this other guy who is now a thing. He has plans. I'm torn on him because it did just create this like really interesting, tense, very sad character moment for one of the characters we haven't yet seen, but who has been mentioned repeatedly throughout the game. It's created like a really just sense of dread and this like really sad character moment for this character. And I'm really liking that part of it, but I feel like this like, oh, but we have this one man who's a villain on this ship, that kind of comes out of nowhere. So anyway, I did play the original Dead Space, but I never finished it. There was a specific area where I got stuck. I didn't have enough ammo to move forward, but it was like too far back to get to a shop, and so I just kind of stopped there pretty early in the game, in like chapter 3 or 4. So, yeah, this is my first time kind of getting past that point and getting further into the game. So we've been discovering the story together. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to playing some more of it. I'm really enjoying the Dead Space remake, and I think I'm going to maybe be able to finish it just in time to play the Resi 4 remake when that comes out, depending on how things go in the next couple of weeks. So, pretty excited about that, but yeah, that was a fun time. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I did yesterday, and then today I went to work. So, very exciting weekend, by which I mean exactly the kind of weekend I was hoping to have. I got caught up on school stuff. I had time to relax and play some video games, read this library book at least a little bit. Yeah, it was good. So there've been a number of vlogs that you guys have never seen because I've tried to do a weekend vlog and then just nothing has happened because my life is incredibly boring. I just don't do things. But I think this one is going to go up. I think you will be seeing this because this is the kind of weekend I exactly wanted. And I'm hopeful that getting in the habit of like making these vlogs, of actually filming, getting them edited, just like letting them go, putting them up, I'm hopeful I can do some more vlogging going forward that isn't just like my themed stuff, because I do have some themed vlogs planned, but with those, sometimes what I run into is that like I have a theme, it takes me a little while to get through it, takes much longer than I anticipate, so now I have to keep moving it down the schedule until I'm actually able to finish it. So I'm hopeful that I can do some vlogging in between that's this less structured kind. But yeah, definitely let me know down in the comments whether you would like to see these kind of vlogs from me or not. That will definitely influence my decision on that going forward. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, even though it's probably been quite boring. But I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, I hope you consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting every Tuesday and Saturday, so there is more content coming soon, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.